Hail and well met. So, I've been working on this project for the last couple days, and I posted it in the Adventure Zone appreciation group, and then also in the Adventure Zone crafting group. Thank you for giving me that link, by the way. But I figured I'd do a video to just kind of show a little of what I'm doing with my crocheted Voidfish. I got the idea from the link for a crochet jellyfish that someone actually shared in the Zonecast group a couple days ago, and I decided, oh, hey, I'll try to do that. So I wanted to find some yarn that has kind of spacey, ethereal kind of looking quality. What I did find was this Red Heart yarn. They have a whole group of colors that they sell under this Stellar brand that are all kind of space related, and they all have spacey kind of names. This particular one is called Nova, and as you can see, it's super bulky. It's size 6. It's very thick and curly, which makes it kind of a pain to work with, especially when it starts to come apart like that, and it's very fuzzy, because your hook tends to like go through the middle of it, which can be a pain. But I just liked the color the best, especially since it has this gold thread going through the middle of it. As you can see, it kind of makes it sparkly. And it has all these lovely blues and greens and purples, but it's not as super bright. A lot of the other colors, like the rainbowy colored yarn, were very brightly colored, like very bright reds and very bright blues, or they're white with rainbow colors mixed in. And that's not really what I wanted. I wanted something darker, and this really, I think, fit the bill and works really nicely. So I'll link the pattern in the description that I kind of used for my inspiration for this. The original pattern is for a crochet jellyfish that's more cartoony looking. I kind of went more freeform with it. So I started out with this. This is going to be the top of the jellyfish. As you can see, it's pretty big, like it's bigger than my whole hand. I kind of got carried away a little bit once I finally got it to work. I originally started working on this with the largest hook that I had, which was an I size, I believe. And I just couldn't tell the stitches apart because they were so small in comparison to the size of the yarn. So I ended up having to go and get some larger hooks. This is actually size L, which is an 8mm. Because the largest one that I had in my collection that I went and borrowed from my mom was a K, and that still was not big enough. But this is actually working really well. It allows me to make the stitches large enough to where when I'm going around I can actually see the stitches, because you know you have to do extra stitches in each loop to make it bigger as you go around. So it kind of got away from me a little bit. But so that's the top, and what I was thinking when I started this is that I don't want it to look like a cartoon jellyfish with like a little face on it and stuff like that. I wanted it to look more like an actual jellyfish, and I know they're more kind of floaty and, you know, floppy. So I think that big size is going to work really well. So that's the top, and I think I did 5 rows around, maybe 6 total. I think the color worked out really nice just with the way that the variegation goes around. So then I made the bottom piece, which I don't know if you can kind of see because I've got stuff attached to it, but I made it smaller in comparison to the top, because I'm thinking that when I attach them together that this will fit up underneath here, and then maybe the edges of this will drape around. I know that real jellyfishes have like kind of a ruffled edge or a curly kind of an edge. Obviously I don't have that here, but I think it's going to kind of naturally do that once I've attached that smaller bottom piece. The ends of it are just going to kind of flop over like that. So I think it's going to work nicely. So the bottom part I made smaller, obviously. Then we came to the tentacles now, or tendrils or whatever. As you can see, let's see if I can hold it up and show. I have 3 large ones that are really curly, and then a bunch of smaller ones. The instructions in the pattern say to make a chain and then do a bunch of single crochets or half double crochets, whatever you want, and it'll just naturally curl if you keep adding into the stitch or doing 2 in each hole. It'll naturally curl. The problem with this is that this yarn is very thick and very heavy, and on those big tendrils, as you can see, it's so heavy that it kind of starts to pull the curl out a bit. So by the time I had made 3 of them, I decided that 3 was about as many big ones as I wanted. And in fact, the longest one, the one that's hanging down in the middle, actually was so heavy that the entire top of it, about to halfway down, pulled itself out almost straight because of the weight of it. So what I ended up doing, and I don't know if you can see it in there, you can kind of see it a little bit, I ran a thread down through the middle of it from the cap down to about halfway down and tied it off and gathered it up so that it would recurl a little bit. The smaller ones aren't as bad, they didn't really need that, but the biggest one needed it. And again, like I said, I'm trying to go for more of a real jellyfish look. And so I looked at some pictures, and it seems like they tend to have maybe 2, 3, 4 large tendrils, and then a bunch of tiny small ones all around their edges, like a bunch of feelers almost. And so since I had such an issue with this being such a thick yarn and so heavy that it was pulling out my large tendrils curls, I thought, okay, well, I mean, I'm kind of a novice to crochet. Like, I've only been doing it for a few weeks, if you can believe that. I didn't really know a way to make a curly-Q thing out of this thick of a yarn and this big of a yarn that was going to get any smaller than those big ones. Like, I just don't have that knowledge. This is all I got. So, but the good thing is that this yarn itself is already curly and twisted and tenderly looking. So I decided that my solution was to be 3 large curly Qs and then just a bunch of strands of yarn that I cut different lengths. As you can see, there are some long ones and some medium-sized ones, and just tied them off all around the top in various places so that we have a whole, I wish I could show the whole thing. My arm's not long enough. So that we have a whole bunch of tendrils and then the big thick ones in the middle. So that's my progress that I've worked on over the weekend. What I have left to do is to take the top here and attach the bottom cap underneath. And the good thing is all of my ties and everywhere that I've tied off all this yarn is going to be hidden inside, so you're not going to see any of it. The thing I'm worried about is, so the directions show that they actually stuffed polyfill inside the body of the jellyfish to make it kind of puffy. But obviously I'm not going for a cartoon jellyfish, but I do kind of still want to make sure that the top of this has a little shape to it so that the edges fall over the way that I want it to. But the issue with having such large yarn and such large stitches, obviously, is that there are big holes between those stitches. And I think if I put white polyfill in the middle there, you're going to see it between all of my yarn. So I'm thinking what I might do is take a piece of black or gray fabric that I have and make a little round pillow, or square, I mean, it doesn't really have to be round, and stuff that with polyfill and then put that inside here, because then you won't really see it or notice it through the stitches rather than seeing like white stuffing poking through. So that's where I'm at with my Voidfish. And if you have any questions, you know, hit me up in the comments down there and let me know what you think. And that's it. See ya.